UFC 287 is around the corner where King of Miami will return into the action and Israel Adesanya will get his last chance to defeat Alex Pereira. Well, in this video, we are gonna talk about some fights that you should not miss this weekend. Joseph Pyfer vs Gerald Meerschaert. Dana White's Contender Series alumni Joseph Pyfer has booked his second UFC assignment. Joseph Pyfer, who is 26-year-old, came off Dana White Contender Series with the affection of the UFC president behind him. He parlayed that into successful Octagon debut in September when he defeated Alen Amedovski by first round TKO. He'll get a sizable step up in competition, however, with Meerschaert, who is 35-year-old and has the most submission wins and second most finishes overall in the UFC middleweight division. Meerschaert is famous because of his loss against Khamzat Chimaev, but he is also coming off a third round submission win over Bruno Silva at UFC Fight Night. Chris Curtis vs Kelvin Gastelum. Chris Curtis is potentially on the verge of big things in the UFC if he can pass his next test. At UFC 287, Chris Curtis will take on arguably his toughest test yet in former interim middleweight title challenger Kelvin Gastelum. Out of Curtis' previous opponents, Gastelum carries the most impressive resume with multiple former champions and title challengers faced. The bout will be Curtis' first appearance of 2023 on the heels of a brutal second round stoppage of Buckley at UFC 282. It was his fourth UFC win and his third stoppage during his run with the promotion. Not only has Curtis proven that he is an exciting fighter who is climbing up the rankings, but he believes it's time that he gets a bigger spotlight. Gastelum, on the other hand, is in the midst of his toughest stretch of his career, having gone 1 win 4 losses after losing his interim title bid in a war for the ages against Israel Adesanya at UFC 236. Despite the skid, Curtis knows exactly what he's getting into with a grizzled veteran like Gastelum and will be ready to take main event status if he emerges victorious. Raul Rosas Jr. vs Christian Rodriguez. On April 8, Rosas looks to remain undefeated by extending his record to 8-0. The 18-year-old phenom is taking on Rodriguez, who has an 8 wins 1 loss record. Rodriguez made his UFC debut in Feb 2022 after establishing himself with a solid prospect of 7-0 record. Unfortunately for him, he lost his first fight against Jonathan Pearce at featherweight, returned to bantamweight division for his second fight, defeating Joshua Weems by second round submission. Meanwhile, Rosas joined the UFC in 2022 after earning his contract on Dana White's Contender Series. Rosa quickly validated his hype by taking out Jay Perrin with a first round submission. The 18-year-old looks to take another step forward against Rodriguez at UFC 287. Rob Font vs Adrian Yan. Rob Font steps into the octagon with a record of 19 wins, 6 losses and 0 draw. 8 of those wins coming by the way of knockout and 4 by submission. Adrian Yan will make his way to the cage with a record of 16 wins, 3 losses and 0 draw, with 10 of those wins by knockout and 2 submission. If the fight goes to the ground, their records will suggest that Font will have a slight advantage over Yan with a 21% submission rate over Yan's 13%. Font has beaten 3 of his last 5 opponents, stopping one of them, going to the judges twice. While if we talk about Giannis, then Giannis has won 5 of his most recent fights, stopping 3 of them, going to the judges twice as well. If we talk about the betting odds of this fight, then Adrian Yan is currently favored with -180, while Rob Font is +140 underdog. Jorge Masvidal vs Gilbert Burns. Masvidal will be wanting to put on a show in front of his home fans when he takes on Gilbert Burns in the co-main event of UFC 287. For Masvidal, this is a chance to bring an end to a 3-fight losing streak, which includes 2 losses to the former UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Gilbert Burns, meanwhile, will be full of confidence going into this contest after first round submission win over Neil Magny this past January. Jorge Masvidal also said that if he loses this fight, he might get retired. But if he wins the fight, he will surely get the title shot. In the main event of the evening, Israel Adesanya will face Alex Pereira for the 4th time and 2nd time in the UFC. I think everyone is already excited about this one and I don't need to discuss that fight. If you like the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stick with the channel for more UFC related videos.